Hello and welcome. Today we are taking a look at a whole bunch of new makeup, and nothing here is first impressions except for the primer from What's Up Beauty that we're looking at today. But we also have the new Westman Atelier concealer, the new Givenchy Rouge Interdit satin lipsticks. I have the new Victoria Beckham Posh Balms. So I purchased the three that are tinted. There's also a clear option. And we also have the new Tom Ford lip pencils. So quite a few new things. Let's go ahead and we're gonna get started. Let's start off with the primer. So this is the What's Up Beauty Posy-tivity Lightweight Hydrating Face Primer, or posy-tivity. Not exactly sure which. It's silicone-free, clean, cruelty-free, and vegan. It is made in China. We have a 1 fluid ounce here. And there's also a 1-year shelf life. So beautiful packaging here with the posies. So it's probably posy-tivity. But I like how we do have a bit more of a narrow nozzle here. So it actually comes out nicely. It's thin, it's lightweight. And a lot of times we see these silicone-free primers like this with a similar texture that are not necessarily hydrating. A lot of the ones I like the Prada one and so forth, those are all a similar lightweight kind of gel-like texture, but a lot of those are a bit more matte. So this one's going to be a little bit, you see there's a little bit more luminosity here. And it feels, I wouldn't say as strong as a lightweight moisturizer, but more like a lightweight gel serum. That's kind of the texture you have on your skin. And then once it sets down, you can feel like a little tackiness, like there is some moisture there, but you don't feel any, like it definitely like sets in and sinks into your skin. So I actually think it's a really nice, comfortable primer. Let's take a look at this on the face. So the primer retails for $31 US, and this was gifted to me from What's Up Beauty. According to them, it's a hydrating primer purpose-built to be lightweight with fast absorption, designed to extend the wear of your makeup and give your face a fresh, dewy finish. This water-based, milky formula is free from fragrance and tint, making it suitable for all skin types. It softens and smooths your skin while leaving a slightly sticky finish to grip your makeup, ensuring it stays in place all day. Our primer is silicone-free, clean, non-toxic, cruelty-free, and vegan. It's infused with moisturizing and nourishing ingredients such as niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, vitamin C, and vitamin E, which are known for improving your skin's texture and hydration. I have to say, most primers I feel pretty ambivalent about, and there are only a few that really stick out as ones that I truly love. And that would be things like the Surat Perfectionist Primer, which I've talked about since that has launched. That is like my go-to primer. The new Prada primer is also a favorite of mine. The Dior one that I featured in my last video, which has been discontinued, is a favorite of mine. I have to say I really like this one. It's a really great formula, and this, I don't know, I haven't used it enough to say it's a true favorite yet, but it's definitely texturally up there with my favorites. I really like it. So I can't wait to continue using this. I think it is really nice, and it definitely makes my skin, the skin on my hands, here you can see this one's dry. And you can see up close, you know, I have a little bit of dryness here. I didn't put any hand cream on last night, and I always have like dishpan hands and things because I hate wearing gloves while doing dishes. But this one has a primer. So look at the difference there between the two. So here's the primer, and it looks so much more hydrated. So you can see just a difference from that. And this has sunken into my hand or to my skin very well. You do feel a little bit of that tacky finish, but I like that. And I think this is a really nice primer. So thank you so much to What's Up Beauty for sending this to me. And I am definitely ready to try this longer term and, you know, see how I like it in a while. But right now I have to say this is texturally one that goes definitely up there in my favorites. Next, let's move into the Westman Atelier concealer. So I have been testing this out for a couple of days, and I have used this, you know, just under the eyes. I've used this kind of on a hot, humid day, and then I went swimming. And I've also used this, you know, all over the face. So I've tested it out a few different ways, and I definitely have some thoughts. But let's start off with the packaging. So our packaging here is very cute. For reference, these are the lip serums, the liquid lip balms from Westman Atelier. So you can see we have the same size packaging here, but this is going to be your glossy ivory. We have the little window here with the color, just like we do on this, and the black, or I'm sorry, the gold top. So inside we do have a doe foot applicator, and I have shade L1, which is our lightest. Let's go ahead and we'll just put this right on top of the primer there. So this is shade L1. Now you can see with me touching this that the texture of this is more like a thick cream. So it's not super thin, but it's definitely thin enough to kind of blend out. However, you do want to work quickly. It does dry fairly quickly. So let's take a look at the demos. And as we're looking at the demos, I want to say, you know, I'm showing you here under the eye on the right eye using a fingertip application. I actually don't prefer this method with this concealer. Sometimes when you're working with a thicker consistency, this works better, but I do find that it accumulates more in the lines when I use my finger versus when I use a concealer brush on the other side. Now, this concealer is a little bit thicker and heavier, so I don't recommend applying it directly under the eyes. I like to put this one on the back of my hand and then dab a little bit onto either the brush or onto my skin directly from there. But you really, it's like a less is more kind of formula because it is a little bit of a thicker cream. So you definitely want to go in with very light layers. So I think that the best application method for under the eyes is to go in with a more of a fluffier brush and, you know, prime the brush. Actually, a friend of mine recently sent me Katie Jane Hughes, I forget, I think it was Instagram, but she was doing one of the tutorials about priming your concealer brush and just kind of putting the swatch on the back of your hand, rubbing the brush, a fluffy brush into it. And I think she picked up a little bit more product than what I usually do. But when I do that, I like to get, you know, I like to get it all over the bristles, but, you know, kind of rub off any excess. And that way I can go in with a very, very light layer. And I think that works best. The brush that I'm using here is the BK Beauty and Nikki La Rose N16. That's a concealer brush. I did purchase her set, but that's the brush that I really use from the set. So I would definitely recommend that one as a concealer brush. Now you can see also in the demo, I decided to go in with the brush kind of all over the face so you could kind of see what it does strategically. And I do have a little bit of a breakout on my chin, so I wanted to kind of target that first so you could see how it covers for that. And it does a decent job. There is a little bit of a satin sheen to this concealer, so it's not necessarily always best for covering blemishes. If you have a raised blemish, that sheen might actually enhance the location of that when the light hits it. So just something to note there, you would want to powder that to cover up any, you know, unwanted sheen. But if you are looking for a dewy finish, this concealer, using it strategically, does help achieve that. And I think it looks very nice on the skin. I actually think this is her best, probably the best complexion product that she's come out with since the foundation stick. I haven't been a huge fan of any of her oils or her skin tint. This, however, I do think is much better than those. It's not as oily. And yeah, you know, I think it performs very well. Now, as for longevity and so forth, this actually did last really well in the pool and the heat and the humidity when I had it all over my face. For the heat and humidity, though, underneath the eyes, when I use the fingertip application, it does kind of like melted some of it into my crevices. So I feel like it just didn't hold up as well in that method, but using a lesser amount with a brush really helps alleviate that. There was still some creasing, but it's minimal. It wasn't really anything noticeable unless you get right up close. So overall, though, I have to say I'm impressed with how it performs. It's definitely, you know, it's a nice product. I have to say I do like it. And my only caveat here is just to let you know that when I am working with putting this on both sides, it kind of dried on my hand in between the sides. So it started to go on patchy. And so then I had to add a little bit more product to the back of my hand, get kind of a fresh coat. So just something to note, you probably do want to make sure you do one eye or one side at a time, whatever you're using, because this product does kind of dry fairly quickly. And once it starts to dry, that's when you get kind of like more of a patchy finish. So it's best to use it kind of right away, work in small amounts, and that would be my recommendation. But I think it is a really nice product. I wouldn't say it's like a favorite concealer. at this point, but I think it's a nice product. So if you really love the ethos of the Westman Atelier brand, this is a nice product from them. But I personally still prefer some of my other concealers, such as the Valentino. So let's just go in with a few comparisons. So this is the Westman Atelier in L1. This is my favorite. This is the Valentino. It's a brightening concealer. This is LIGR2. So this is thinner. It does not give as much coverage. So that's definitely a plus from the Westman Atelier. But you can see it definitely also gives you kind of like the same finish, a little bit more of that satin sheen. Now the Valentino though, it has so much of a sheen that I don't like to use it all over my skin. I feel like the Westman Atelier is a little bit more subdued. So if you're looking for something straight under the eye, both of them will work. But the Valentino, I do want to mention that I will only use this under the eyes. Now, one of the concealers I like to use kind of all over the face, like I did today with the Westman Atelier, is the Givenchy, and I wear shade N95. This one, you know, it's fine under the eyes. I'd say it's pretty comparable to the Westman Atelier under the eyes. However, it's a little bit thinner of a product, little, not quite as dry. And, but I do really like this one all over my face. And this one, you know, you have a little bit more playtime before this one sets. So this is shade N95. You can see in comparison, the Givenchy is just a little bit peachier, while the Westman Atelier perhaps has a little bit more tan in it. For reference, this is the Westman Atelier foundation stick in shade N. So I'm going to put this one just right up here so you can kind of see how N compares to L1. And you can see that they are a good match. I think the N and the L1 are pretty close color-wise. It's definitely kind of, I feel like the L1 is just slightly deeper, but it blends out to be about the same color. The shade N in the foundation stick is perhaps just a little bit lighter overall though. Another concealer I use a lot is the Surat. This is shade 3. I also have shade 1, but that is more white. It's definitely more brightening. This is going to be closer in color, but you can see this, again, we also have kind of that satin sheen, but this is going to be a lighter weight and a little bit less coverage. And again, this is going to have a little bit more of a soft golden hue in it in comparison to the Westman Atelier. And the last one I want to look at is actually the Cle de Peau concealer in number 1 Ivory. So this is their lightest. This is their stick concealer. And I want to put this, well, we'll put this right here, but you can see this is deeper than the Westman Atelier, which is actually the reason I don't use this all the time. It is a little deep for me, but I do feel like this is, it's a little bit more full coverage than the Westman Atelier, but it's closer in coverage than the other ones that I featured here. This, it's sort of like the Westman Atelier is like a melted version of a stick concealer. So it kind of gives you that kind of coverage, but in a slightly different vessel formula there. And yeah, I have to say I do like them both, but patting on the stick concealer, you really don't get as much product up. So I feel like patting that on with the finger is the best application method with the stick versus, you know, I like to rub my finger on this and then tap it on. So I don't have too much product, but it doesn't accumulate in the fine lines. And I think the stick formula allows it to kind of grip the skin a little bit better and just not move as much during the day. Because this is a creamy formula, and I'm sure there's a bit of oil in here as well, you know, I do feel like the heat and the humidity causes it to migrate a little bit. And it's not going to be super noticeable except in areas of like wrinkles and fine lines. Now, just a few product details. We have 6 milliliters of product, which is 0.2 ounces. There's a 1-year shelf life, and it is made in Italy. I have to say, I do like this concealer, and it is one that I will continue to use, but it just doesn't rank up there with my favorites at this time. So one more time for the swatches here. This is the Westman Atelier in L1, Westman Atelier foundation stick in N, Valentino in LIGR2. This is going to be the Givenchy in N95, Surat in 3, Cle de Peau stick concealer in Ivory. So I hope that is helpful. All right, so next let's move in with the Tom Ford lip pencils. And I did test these out in the pool as well to see how well they hold up in water and so forth. So we'll talk about that. But let's take a look at the pencils. And I put this back in the box so I could kind of show you because something small, but I like the way they put the pencil sharpener. So you have a little tab here to lift that up. You don't have to I always have to shake the boxes to get them out. And I have to say, I do like this pencil sharpener. I have already tested it out. So this is a new one that I haven't used, but this is, I'm not sure what the material is. It almost feels like it's like a lacquered wood, but it's probably some sort of plastic, but it's nice and sharp. And yeah, it worked well on the pencil. This hole here, I'm not sure what the purpose is for that, but it's kind of interesting. I guess you could string it up if, depending on how you store them. So I purchased 4 of the lip pencils, and this one here is shade 101 Close Up. And this is probably my favorite of them. This is like your rosy nude. So it's really more of a soft rose. So you can see it's a pretty neutral rose. It's not too warm. It's not too cool. And I think it's a really nice neutral base shade. This is the one I actually have on with this lipstick here. And then my second favorite is kind of a peachy nude. So this one here is my second favorite. This is called 102. This is Re-C. So we have 101 Close Up and 102 Re-C, which I don't know what that means. But you can see it's more of a soft peachy nude. You have a little bit of tan, you have a little bit of peach. It's just a nice, great neutral option. This is going to be a little bit lighter than 101, but I would say that 101 is going to give you more of your rosier, cooler tones. 102 is great for your warmer tones or your barely there beige lip shades. And then I picked up 2 of the deeper shades as well. This is 105 Private Client, and I really like this one. It's a really beautiful red. I'm still looking for a replacement to my favorite discontinued Chanel lip pencil, but unfortunately I have not found a comparable shade yet. So this is 105 Private Client, and this is going to be a nice red. We do have a little bit of a blue undertone in here. We have some pink. You can see when you kind of rub that out, you get more of that fuchsia pink. And the last one I picked up is 107 Fire, which I thought was going to be different than it is. You can see this is more of a terracotta red. So you have, in certain lights when it's built up, it almost looks like you have a brownish burgundy, which is what I was kind of looking for. But it's really, it's interesting because you do have a little bit of some cooler overtones in there, but the base of this is actually pretty warm. So you have more of a terracotta base to it, mixed with a little bit of a cooler burgundy on there. It's a pretty interesting shade, but I think this is great for all of those warmer base, terracotta hued lip colors. So let's take a look at the lip demos. So I've actually worn the lip pencil all day just on its own to really see how it performs. And it holds up really well. There is one little exception. I'll get to that in a second. But overall, it wears pretty evenly and, the color doesn't budge once you put that on. However, my one little exception here is this is not a waterproof one. So sometimes we've seen some lip pencils like the Esom ones and so forth that are waterproof. I have worn those in the pool. They don't budge. They look exactly the same. This, if you get it wet, it's not really an issue. It's not going to budge unless, let's say, you wipe it with a napkin or something. You wipe it with your finger. You will budge some color then. And that could cause, fading more. Like if you're eating a meal, you'll have fading in the area, the center of your lips and so forth. So, it's not the perfect lip liner in my opinion. However, what I do really like about it is what it feels like on the lips. It kind of you forget that it's on. So sometimes when you wear just a lip pencil on its own without any gloss or balm, it can feel a little tight or a little drying. These don't. They are comfortable. They go on very smooth, kind of like a silky cream texture. And then they set pretty, I definitely within a minute, probably even in less than 30 seconds. So they set pretty well unless you're really piling that up. If you do want to pile up the lip color and you're wearing this on its own, I would recommend putting on, you know, kind of a thicker layer, blot it, then go in with a lighter layer again and perhaps blot it again. That's my kind of go-to if I want to wear it all day on its own, and it holds up really well there. When you go in with the second layer, you know, you kind of have like a base layer there as well. So if parts of it do rub off, you know, I feel like it takes a little bit longer to get to actual lip. So overall, I have to say, I think these are a really nice lip pencil. I can definitely see 101 and 102 being shades that I reach for quite a bit because of the color selection. I think the formula is really nice and comfortable. This is definitely a pencil that I wouldn't hesitate to wear on its own or even top with a little bit of balm or gloss for a beautiful look. Let's go ahead and move on to the Victoria Beckham lip balms. So these are the Victoria Beckham Posh Balms. And I have to say the packaging is nice. It's heavy. And so we do have metal packaging. My one complaint is this is one that you twist up, but you can't twist back down. Now, I have to say, when you click it, you know, it's moving very, very small increments. So you're going to have to twist it a lot. You know, it's not going to be something where you twist a few times and then, oops, I twisted it up too much. That's an issue. But no, you're going to get small increments, such small increments that it's not really problematic. You know, I can still put the cap on here with no issue. So that is kind of my one complaint, but that's just because I personally don't like that type of mechanism. However, the packaging here, we have a click closure, heavy duty. I think it's a really nice package. This is going to be the shade Fleur. And they actually look a bit more pigmented on the lips than they do on my arm or hand in this case. So this is the shade Fleur. This is going to be our light pink. And it gives just a very soft light pink of color to the lips. And I'd say it's pretty, yeah, it's not going to be a cool tone pink. It's kind of right smack in the middle. Then we have the shade Colette. Colette is going to be your red shade here. And this is going to be a sheer red. Now, this red, there is a little warmth to it. So the red has a little warmth. The Fleur is almost like a warm pink, but it's still pretty neutral. And then our cooler tone shade is going to be Cassis, which is our berry. And this, of course, is the one that I was most interested in. You can see we've got a little bit of like a deeper purple in there. Not as much as we would get from like a black lip balm or something like that. But these are going to be our three shades. So we have Fleur, Colette, and Cassis. So let's take a look at the lip swatches here. These lip balms retail for $32 US. They do have some set combinations on the Victoria Beckham website, which is always a great way to try things out there because you got a little bit of an embedded discount. These are cruelty-free. We have a 1-year shelf life, 1.8 grams of product, and these are going to be made in Korea. Texturally, these feel a bit more like a stiffer, waxier balm with a touch of honey in it. That's kind of the texture to me. I wouldn't say I taste honey or I smell honey, but that's just kind of the texture I get. So there's a little bit of tackiness on the lips, and because it is a little bit firmer, you kind of want to go over this a few times to really get more of that emollient texture. So it's a little bit stiffer though, which allows it to kind of last a little bit longer on the lips before you are left without any, balmy texture on your lips. I think it's an okay lip product. According to Victoria Beckham Beauty, it's a clinically proven lip perfecting balm with nourishing and smoothing ingredients that lend 24-hour hydration in a sleek stick. That's rich. Custom Color Bloom, we have 3 shiny tinted shades contain light pH adaptive technology, allowing each sheer hue to bloom into a personalized wash of color. A universal shiny clear glaze is a best-in-class nourishing essential. And we have the Plush Melty Formula. Each twist releases a precise dose of Posh Balm with the softest texture achievable in a super slim bullet. The decadent, hyper-emollient formula lends an entrancing glide with 24 hours of hydration. And it is cruelty-free, vegan, lip smoothing, fragrance-free, nut-free, and gluten-free. Overall, I think it is a nice lip balm, but I do prefer a little bit of a softer texture, something a little bit more buttery feeling in texture. So it's not my favorite texturally. I do think it gives you a really nice soft wash of color, and I like the way they look on the lips. Let's look at the hand swatches one more time so you can see after they have kind of deepened a little bit. So we have Fleur, Colette, Cassis. Now, they do have light pH adaptive technology, which, light, definitely a little bit. There's not as much. It's not going to turn like that bright pink shade on, at least it doesn't on my lips. And it's just not as intense as we've seen from other tinted lip balms that utilize this technology. So, I like it. We still get the color that is intended, but you get a little bit of customization. So I like the colors a lot. The formula, I think, I just personally wish it was a little bit more buttery, but it is nice. So no complaints there. I love the fact that it's fragrance free personally. And again, my one complaint about the packaging is just I don't like the ones that twist up and don't twist back down. So, but otherwise, I do feel like they took that into account by making very small increments go up. So you're not going to accidentally, raise it too high and then not be able to, put the lid on properly. So overall, I think it's a nice product, but it's not a love for me. Now, our last product is going to be the new Givenchy Le Rouge Interdit. So first of all, here's the packaging. So we have leather packaging here, the Givenchy logo, slim style packaging, and these are not refillable. So my biggest complaint with the Givenchy lipsticks has been since they moved to the refillable packaging, they just haven't found a great component and they tend to fall out. So yeah, I think it's better that they didn't do refillable here just because I don't think they've kind of nailed that yet. So this is the shade I have on my lips right now. It's number 111. And you can see with one swipe, we have high pigmentation. It's a very silky texture. So I purchased 4 of these. So that one, though, that's probably my favorite. Then we have number 227 here. And this is going to be like a warm pink with a little bit of red in it. So it's going to be a bit more intense. We have warmth in there. 111 is a little bit of a nude shade with a little bit of pink and peach. So I wouldn't say it's a rosy nude, but it's not really a peachy nude either. We have aspects of both in 111. And then, so 111 and this one here, number 231, these two are my favorites. So 231 is going to be a bit more of a cooler rose tone. Again, you can see it's going to be a deeper rose. I think it's just such a beautiful shade. All of the lipsticks, though, in this line, they are going to be pretty pigmented with one swipe. It reminded me, color-wise, they remind me a lot of the Chanel Rouge Allure L'Extrait. However, this is a slightly firmer formula than those. They're not quite as soft. So this one here is 302. And so looking at all of these, again, 111 is going to be kind of your nude shade. We have a little bit of rose and peach mixed in there. And then we have kind of a warm, deep rose in number 227. 231 is going to be a cooler tone, soft rose with a touch of berry. And then 302 is going to be a red. And you can see we have a little bit of kind of like a little bit of almost like a neon orange just softly mixed into that to give it a little bit of vibrancy. So this is, you can see when you blend this out, you get a little bit of like a brighter pink, but you also get a little bit of that fiery orange in there. So I think it's actually a really cool color. Let's take a look at the lip swatches here. So the Givenchy Le Rouge Interdit satin lipsticks have 2.7 grams of product here. We do have a genuine leather case, and these are going to be made in France. According to Givenchy, it's a luminous satin finish lipstick that provides 24 hours of hydration, long-lasting color, and comfort to the lips. It includes hyaluronic acid, shea butter, and oat oil. It's free of parabens, formaldehydes, formaldehyde releasing agents, phthalates, mineral oil, retinol palmitate, oxybenzone, coltor, and so forth. There's a whole bunch. And it has less than 1% synthetic fragrance. It is vegan, gluten-free, cruelty-free, and comes in recyclable packaging. Now, if you've tried the Givenchy Silk Intense lipsticks, those are technically a satin matte finish. So they appear satin, they'll dry to a little bit more of a soft satin matte finish. These are going to be a little bit more of a shinier satin. Texturally though, the two of these feel very, very similar. I would say that these new Rouge Interdit, perhaps they feel a little bit silkier, perhaps a little bit more emollient. You know, it's a little bit of a thicker texture, but it's a very subtle difference. I would say they feel very close on the lips. So the biggest difference between those is really going to be your finish. So let's take a look at the swatches again. These are the Rouge Interdit in 111, 227, 231, and 302. This is one of the intense silk lipsticks, and this is going to be 110. So let's go ahead and we'll put this one right here. So this is more of a satin matte. You can see texturally though, they go on very similarly. We still have that sheen. This does have like a powder in it though, so it will kind of set down to a little bit more matte overall. We have a bit more shine with the Rouge Interdit, and that's really going to be our biggest difference. So I hope this has been helpful. Let's do a quick summation of everything we talked about today. So we started off today with the What's Up Beauty Posy-tivity Primer. And this is a nice lightweight hydrating primer with a little bit of grip for your makeup. I have to say I really like it. I can't wait to keep using this because I do think that this is going to go into my favorites. You know, it kind of has more of a lightweight gel serum kind of texture, and then it dries with just a little bit of grip. And I just think it's a really nice product, and it definitely adds more of a moisturized look to your skin without, you know, interfering with, any skincare or foundation that you might decide to use. Then we went in with the Westman Atelier concealer, and I think this is a nice product. I do like this. I think this is probably one of her best complexion products. This is the best since the foundation stick. I'd say, you know, I like both of those quite a lot for complexion products from her. We do have a little bit more of a soft satin finish to it, so you do have a little bit of a sheen if you want to use it all over, but it gives you a little bit of illumination. And, I think it performs well, and overall, it's a nice product. Then we went in and we looked at the Tom Ford lip pencils. And I have to say, I do really like these. This one here, 101 and 102, these are my two favorites. We also have 105 and 107 here. But you can see that these, they don't budge. They stay put. Overall, they are very nice, and I think they're a very comfortable lip pencil to wear. So I like them. I like the way they're packaged. I like the little sharpener with them as well. And then we took a look at the Victoria Beckham Balms, and here they are on my hand again. We have Fleur, Colette, and Cassis. Love the outer packaging being nice and weighty. Don't love the fact that you have to click up, but you can't click back down. There is a little bit of pH adaptive technology in there to give you a little bit of customization. I think these are nice, very sheer colors on the lips, but I do wish that the formula was a little bit softer and buttery than they are. It is going to be a firmer, waxier texture, and it's a very nice product. It's just not a favorite texture for me. I do wish it was a little softer. I love the fact, however, that it is going to be fragrance free. I think that is definitely key and definitely a reason to consider it as a potential investment. Then we took a look at the new Givenchy Le Rouge lipsticks, and I have to say I do really like these. I prefer these over the Silk Intense personally, partly because the packaging is not refillable, so you don't have to worry about it falling out all the time, but also just the finish. I love the satin finish on this. They're very comfortable on the lips. They are very pigmented though, and I do kind of miss some of the older lipsticks from Givenchy many years ago where they had, satin lipsticks that were, they had more sheer options as well. So I do kind of miss that. These are going to be full pigmentation, and I feel like sometimes it's a little bit harder to get some of those lighter colors in that type of formula. So I hope that they do add, another type of satin lipstick to their range. but I do really like these for full intense colors. This one here, we have 111, 227, 231, and 302. 111 and 231 here are going to be my personal favorites. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are on all of these products, what you've tried or what you're interested in trying. Please share down below in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. I really hope that I was able to help you out with this, and I really appreciate your support. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you very soon.